All organizations who serve the global poor share the same challenge. We need to measure poverty to tell if our services work or if we're even reaching the poor and the poorest in the first place. But measuring the rate of poverty in a population is not straightforward. In developing informal economies, household transactions are often small, irregular, undocumented, and include bartering. So it is very difficult to determine a household's net daily income. And yet we understand poverty in terms of income. The international community describes the state of global poverty with statistics like this. According to the World Bank, 22.4% of the global population, or 1.29 billion people, live on less than the equivalent of $1.25 a day. How we measure poverty must be consistent around the world and across sectors, or we will be comparing apples to oranges when assessing impact or need. However, we must adjust our formula for each country, since differences in culture and economy make for different indications of poverty. Lastly, and most obviously, our measurements must be accurate. So how do we meet this challenge? One solution is the Progress Out of Poverty Index. The Progress Out of Poverty Index, or PPI, is a simple, inexpensive, and accurate tool for pro-poor organizations to estimate and track the poverty rates of those they serve. With dependable data on client poverty rates, organizations can analyze and strategize for better pro-poor services. This is business intelligence for those in the business of serving the poor. For starters, perhaps your organization serves a mix of people above and below the poverty line. Once you know how many clients you have below that line, you can decide if it's enough or if you need to improve your poverty outreach. While poverty outreach is an important indication of success, it is only the tip of the iceberg. The bigger goal is achieving good social performance, meaning that your services are actually helping the poor escape poverty and improve their quality of life. When you combine PPI data with client demographic and behavioral data, you can start to answer questions about how useful your services are to the poor. For example, you might see a trend in the types of services that are popular with poor women and focus your resources on improving those services. Ultimately, over time, you can answer the most important question: are your clients moving out of poverty? The PPI is simple, especially compared to other existing poverty measurement methods. There is one PPI per country, currently 45 PPIs for 45 countries. The PPI starts with a survey of 10 verifiable questions that a field agent can ask their client in 5 to 10 minutes. The questions are simple. For example, what is the main material of the roof of the residence? Does the household have a car? The answers to these questions receive a score. The final score for each survey will tell the organization the likelihood that the survey respondent is living below the national poverty line or one of the internationally recognized poverty lines. Why likelihood and not a yes or no statement? Think of poverty likelihoods like weather predictions. The statement, there is a 60% chance of rain, is more accurate than it will rain today if there is a 40% chance that it may be sunny. When you average all of your clients' likelihoods, you will determine the percentage of your client base that is likely to fall below the poverty line. Grameen Foundation manages the PPI through the Progress Out of Poverty initiative. The PPI is designed by Mr. Mark Schreiner of Microfinance Risk Management, LLC. The PPI is based on each country's own expenditure survey, which is conducted by that country's government. The original expenditure survey is very long and contains many questions, but the PPI contains only the 10 questions with the strongest correlations with poverty. Through a complex analytical process, the responses for each question are assigned scores. Each PPI undergoes rigorous testing before they are published. This includes a field test, a user review, and consultation with regional stakeholders as necessary. In the interest of transparency, Grameen Foundation publishes extensive documentation on the PPI development and testing process, including the design documentation memo written by Mark Schreiner. These materials can be found at progressoutofpoverty.org. When possible, PPIs will be rebuilt to reflect more recent national expenditure data. The PPI can be used by any business, nonprofit, multilateral, or government program that works directly with the world's poor and meets the following criteria. The organization has operations in one or more of the 45 countries where a PPI has been developed. The organization is able to conduct a client survey with at least a representative sample of its client base. The organization must be able to manage client information. 150 organizations currently use the PPI. Grameen Foundation can help you decide if your organization is ready to pilot the PPI and begin achieving a deeper understanding of your clientele. To learn more, visit progressoutofpoverty.org, and to get in touch, email info@progressoutofpoverty.org.